We got a whole lot of snow on the way for certain areas of the country, and we're here to try to figure it all out. The first system we will focus in on is the one ongoing right now. It's producing blizzard conditions. In fact, we got blizzard warnings up now. We got winter storm warnings. We got a whole lot going on. The cold air that falls behind this system will kickstart the lake effect snows, and we need to speak on that also, and we will. The next thing we'll talk about is another storm system behind all this as we get really deeper into this week, really into this coming weekend. We got a winter storm that we need to figure out for areas of the Midwest, maybe even the Ohio Valley and surrounding areas. And then there's another time frame about a week from today that's really starting to show up for the eastern U.S. And we're not going to get super detailed on that, but we'll speak on what we do know, which isn't a whole lot right now, but we'll go over it. So my name is Mitch. Good Tuesday evening. This is my first evening update in quite some time. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So let's start off with watches, warnings, and advisories because we've had some changes. We got winter storm warnings up for Minneapolis. We got blizzard warnings up in the red. The pink is those winter storm warnings. In this purple color, this is winter weather advisories. We got a lot of mixed matching of colors on this graphic because we just got a whole lot going on. For example, we got blizzard warnings up here. We got lakeshore flood advisories. We got a bunch of wind alerts. We got winter storm warnings up for areas of lower Michigan surrounded by winter weather advisories. And if you look really close here off Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, we got lake effect snow warning south of Buffalo. This does include Erie up into the Tug Hill Plateau. It's north of Syracuse. Syracuse, I believe, has winter storm watches. Utica, winter storm watches. So there's a whole lot going on. Just all these areas in kind of this, sandy color, brown color here. These are wind advisories. So south of this low pressure, it's very windy, which normally happens with a strengthening low pressure. And this is a very compact, but decent in strength, low pressure. We even have high wind warnings down here in like Sioux City and things like that north of Omaha. So a lot going on in a very compact area. So I think all this will spread apart as we move over the next several days. So that's that. Let's go over the NAM. All right, and we're going to start this off with about 10, 11 o'clock tonight, so the next couple hours. If it has not already switched to heavy snow in Minneapolis, it will, sometime over the next couple hours. And if you're watching this and it's 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, then obviously it's a now thing, right? But we're probably going to switch, and we do have winter storm warnings out for Minneapolis, to heavy, wet, wind-driven snow. In fact, I could see them switching the winter storm warnings to blizzard warnings in Minneapolis. But Duluth, same thing. Like I said, this is in Eastern time, so if you're in Central, back this up an hour up here. But we continue to progress forward, and it's going to take a little bit for this to kind of come in for us. But we start to get into, say, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then we go, let's just go all the way to about 7 a.m. Central time. All right, now we got kind of this comet head back end of snow, 995 low going right over the top of Lake Michigan. A lot of warm air involved around the immediate low, but on the backside where some cold air is working in. This is heavy wet snow in the blue. I mean heavy snow. A lot of warm air out in front. So, all these areas right in here still very warm. So any moisture is just good old-fashioned rain. But we make our way until about midday tomorrow. If you're making any last-second traveling to one place or the other, grandma's house, whatever it may be, and you live in Michigan, the Great Lakes region, it's going to be risky. So be safe. But this is around lunchtime tomorrow, 993, cruising over the Great Lakes region. Any kind of rain switches to heavy, wet, wind-driven snow in Green Bay. A good chunk of the UP of Michigan, now it's snowing very hard. Could even get a wintry mix as far south as Chicago. Southern areas of lower Michigan, it's snowing. You got snow flying around now in northern areas of Indiana. Heck, even down to Toledo, Detroit, a little bit of snow flying around as cold air is wrapping around this low. And then we start to get into about tomorrow evening. All right, you're starting to settle down, fully get ready for Thanksgiving. Hopefully you already got to point A to point B. Lake effect snow now begins to take over the UP of Michigan. You can see these more intense colors here in blue. This is heavy, heavy snow. Colder temperatures, and it's kind of a mixture between both down here in lower Michigan, but almost the entire state of lower Michigan, whether in your UP or lower Michigan, is snowing. We even got snow greeting you guys down here in eastern Ohio, western PA, and then we continue to progress this forward, and we take it to about the middle of the night tomorrow night, and this is full-on lake effect snow off Lake Superior. Let me slow down. Even a lake-to-lake connection from Lake Superior all the way down to Lake Michigan, heck, all the way down to and over to Lake Huron, down to Lake Erie. So we could actually have a solid band stretching from Lake Superior all the way down to Lake Erie, I think sometime late tomorrow night. Any kind of leftover rain could switch over to snow in northern Vermont, New Hampshire, etc. But we start to make our way into Thanksgiving morning. This is like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning Thanksgiving. Continue to have just a rager up here in the UP and Michigan of lake effect snow. It starts to lighten up and get more isolated to those favored lake effect snow areas in like lower Michigan. And then we get this epic band shooting off Lake Erie. And we got banding coming off Lake Ontario going into the Tug Hill Plateau. And we just continue this all the way into Thanksgiving afternoon. And this just fully turns into a lake effect snow event at this point. And this goes all the way out to about 7 p.m. Eastern time, Thanksgiving evening, and just all out lake effect snow at this point. So how much could we expect? Well, between both of these storm systems, the one that's the actual low pressure itself, and then lake effect snow, of course, Minneapolis isn't getting lake effect snow, but once you get closer to Lake Superior, you get lake enhanced and lake effect here. But Twin Cities going for 3 to 6 inches of snow. This could change in the next hour or two. This is going to be a quick 3 to 6 inches of snow. And I think if you're wondering, if you're in Minneapolis, like, why do we have a winter storm warning up for only 3 or 4 inches of snow? It's because it's going to fall fast and furious over the next couple hours if it's not already going on right now. Duluth, 7 to 11 inches of snow. So, Minnesota itself, not a ton, but once you get up into the northeastern sections of the state, a little bit of lake enhanced activity. You could get anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow. So we go on and look at the rest of Wisconsin here, northern sections of the state, well over a half a foot once you get into this yellow area, and then up into this region, Ashland, and 14 to 20 inches. And guys, this is only between now and about 6 p.m. Friday, so more than this snow could actually fall. Milwaukee, maybe a trace, maybe 3 inches of snow. It gets kind of fuzzy down here. Green Bay, 1 to 7 inches of snow. Eau Claire, 2 to 5. So, yeah, some pretty wide varieties here. And then the UP of Michigan. Let's see if we got an updated graphic with this. And no, we do not. So it's between now and just 7 p.m. Thursday. It could still be snowing in these areas. Ironwood, 27 to 40 inches of snow. Marquette, 11 to 14. Newberry, 6 to 10. Got a lot of loyal followers up here in the UP of Michigan. I appreciate y'all so much. And we continue to drop down into lower sections of Michigan. Gaylord, 10 to 16 inches of snow between now and 7 p.m. Friday. Traverse City, anywhere from 5 to as much as 1.5 feet. So that's a pretty wide range, right? A little bit in the way of some question marks down in this region. And then we drop it even further south into lower Michigan. Grand Rapids, 2, maybe 9 inches of snow. Kalamazoo, 7 to 15. Big Rapids, 5 to 12. And, Detroit, maybe a half an inch to an inch. So not as much in this area, but I think almost the entirety of Michigan, UP, lower Michigan, will get some form of accumulating snow. You might get, if you're a snow fan, you might get ripped off a little bit here in central lower Michigan, but, maybe not. And then northern Indiana, it's a little bit of a tricky spot. South Bend, 2 to 5. It could get a little bit of snow in these areas, but I'm not expecting a ton. Now, we're starting to make our way more so into the lake effect areas. So northern Ohio, Cleveland going for around 5 to 6 inches of snow. Of course, you get up Interstate 90, right up Lake Erie. It changes fast. Over a half a foot of snow is expected. Erie itself, 11 inches. Edinburgh, 15, 1.5 feet of snow is possible. And then we take it up into the Buffalo area, all the way up to the Tug Hill Plateau. Buffalo, it's going to be one of those lake effect snow bands that hang out south of you. But between when the first system moves in over the next couple of days, you could get a quick few inches of snow, but really south of Buffalo, right into these higher elevated regions between Buffalo and Erie and just inland off Lake Erie, my bad. Anywhere from 1 foot to 1.5 feet of snow is possible. Okay, a lot. And I will show some love to my folks up here in the Adirondacks and in Vermont. A little bit of snow as some of this moisture tries to switch to snow at the last second, but we'll see what happens here. And then I will show some love also down here to central New York State. Syracuse, around 0.5 feet, a little bit more. Binghamton, maybe 1.5 inches of snow or so. So a little bit of accumulating snow in this area. So that's about all I'm going to really talk about with that. Now, I do want to show you this next storm system. I will tell you there's been some trends for this to be a little bit further north. This is going to bum out my winter weather fans that live a little bit further south, but I could see this trending a little bit differently. Let's start this off with Friday evening, okay? We're focusing on the Midwest here. Let's get this in motion. As we start to move into Saturday morning, Kind of this lighter shade of blue, this is lighter snow. Darker blues, heavier snow, moderate to heavy right here. And low pressure kind of cutting across the central U.S. Got some snow breaking out across the upper Midwest. And we got flat out moderate to heavy snow. Saturday afternoon, moving into Chicago, Milwaukee. You're right on kind of the rain snow line near Des Moines. Fort Dodge getting some heavy snow. Heck, even Omaha could get some heavy snow from this. All right, snow starting to move into central Illinois, Peoria. A lot of these areas could start out as snow, but as this pretty decent in strength low pressure begins to cut across northern areas of Missouri, some areas could begin to switch from that heavy snow back to rain. But we'll stop it here. This is late. This is about 9-10 o'clock Saturday, this Saturday, the 29th. See this, dark blue here? This is some heavy snow in areas of Iowa, northern Illinois, up into Wisconsin. So there's a potential that this could trend even further north. And we're going to have snow falling on top of snow. And then we start to make our way into about Sunday morning. And if you've been tuning in, you can tell, or you've been tuning into your local people, we've had a trend to this low pressure cutting north of Indiana. This would bring mostly rain for Indiana and even switch any snow to rain potentially for like Chicago. This would be heavy snow for the Great Lakes region. And then this moves in, and we still got some things to figure out with the Northeast, but right now, Northeast, this looks mainly like rain. And then it moves in and it moves out. Now, and I will show you the GFS. It's definitely colder, but I'm not buying it right now. And here comes the GFS with this. Definitely has snow much further south, even all the way down to St. Louis. This is for Saturday evening. Just has everything more south. It's a colder run. And it just depends on how much this cold high pressure suppresses this moisture. We could have a tick back south. So we'll just watch that. But this is the Euro Ensemble. Let's see if we have a new run. We should. It's still running. Let's see, compare this with the 12Z. Yeah, it's a little bit further south. We'll just roll with this. It is what it is. We could have some changes. No point in harping too much on the extreme details of just one model run to one. But this is in 24-hour increments. So you're going to see, for example, all this area right here disappear after it gets past that 24-hour period. And you see this big signal show up on your screen. So once you get into this purple area right here where Iowa, northern Illinois, southwestern and southern areas of Wisconsin connect, that is a half-a-foot snowfall signal from this next winter storm. Solid signal. Even Chicago, you got around a 6-inch snowfall average right now off the Euro Ensemble. And this moves in, and then it moves out. I don't expect a whole lot of ice from this, but we'll see. So we're just not quite in forecast territory from these local national weather services to really figure out how much snow could fall in this system. But chances to see 1 inch of snow. If you're in that red, it's pretty much a lock. But be careful down here. Even though you're in that red, 90 to 100% chance, I could see this going up a little bit. Chances to see 3 inches of snow. And this is going to, let's do that. Chance to see 3 inches of snow. Okay, that's what it looks like. Starts to inch a little bit. And let's just go on and pull the Band-Aid off here. And let's look at chances to see. Let's see if we do have the 18Z run. We do. Chances to see 6 inches of snow. Chicago, 40, 50, 60% chance, depending on where you are. Milwaukee, you're starting to increase this. You see how you got this area up here? And then you got this area right into here. Let's draw on this really quick. You got kind of this area. Nah, I don't like that color. We got this area up here and then kind of this area right into here. This is that winter storm breaking down now. This is what's going on right now and lake effect stuff. Okay, so we got this extra little area right here, and that is a 70 to 80% chance to see 6 inches of snow. So we'll continue to fine-tune the details of this as we get closer. The next thing I want to talk about is a time frame about a week from today, or in the 6 to 8 day time frame. We have trended much colder. We're not going to speak much on temperatures, but I do want to show you a signal. As cold air has trended east from all the cold air dropping down to the west in the central U.S., as we're getting into the dates right here, or it's right over here, December the 2nd, you see this moisture coming up on the European model, 1,006 millibar low going across the southeast. And look at the snow. West Virginia, Kentucky, it's not a forecast, getting a Wednesday morning, about a week from today. A little bit of snow in the mid-Atlantic, a little bit up the I-95 corridor, and it goes away. The GFS shows something fishy around this time frame too. All right, shows some snow much further south. Mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, northern North Carolina. Look at the snow in central and northern North Carolina, southern Virginia, up the I-95 corridor, and then it heads on out. It's because we've trended colder in this time frame, and we got some moisture to deal with. And, even looking at, say, the Canadian model, back it up a little bit, Canadian is a cold bias. Maybe it is because, it's further north. I don't know. Never really thought of it like that. First off, it really wants to show some ice, but we won't focus on that for now. And then the Canadian model wants an all-out ice storm for just all the areas you see in the pink. That's freezing rain. So we just got things to figure out. We got, right now, 3 separate things going on. We're going to be able to fine-tune and really shorten the list of things to talk about as we get closer to these time frames. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful night. We'll do it again tomorrow morning.